Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure meeting you, at least now online. My name is Sasha. I created FREYJA. But before we go into FREYJA, let me introduce myself. I was born in Germany. I grew up in Germany. I went to school. I studied in Germany. And after finishing medical studies, I was working in a hospital in neurology. And neurology for me is the saddest part about medicine. They know so much, but they can't really help. And one day I was asking myself if that would be something I'd like to do for whole my life, basically. And I took some time off, I went to see some friends in Japan. And this is where I met Dr. Tagagi, who became my mentor for this so-called traditional medicine. I liked it and I decided to study this traditional medicine. So out of my vacation, seeing some friends in Japan, it turned out to become basically a 3.5 year stay in Japan and another year in China, where I also finished the traditional medicine. Coming back to Europe, I was working again in a hospital. And during that time, I had a patient I really wanted to help, but didn't know how. And this is when I reached to a German physician who was the founder of a whole new medicine, a biological medicine. So where you look at everything from a biological perspective. I liked it, and I started learning it, studying it, and also applying it. And one big part of my job was always to work with women. And in this biological approach, we look at the so-called biological causes of the health issues. A woman would come to see me, both ways, physical, but also mental, psychological issues. And looking for the biological cause, I found that most of the problems women had was connected with their relationships to men, all type of men, maybe the family members, parents or brothers, the father, but also boyfriends, husbands, and quite often also with the sons. So looking for the causes, I found that most of those causes basically have been something I like to call misunderstandings, where women didn't understand the certain behavior men showed. And I tried to explain those women why men are the way they are. Like, why is it that men can't understand women? And I found that most the issues women had was always about the same topics. So one day I sat down and I wrote down the main reasons or the main causes of misunderstanding. And I asked myself, so what would happen if women would have this knowledge before they would experience such biological shocks? And this is how I came up with the idea to have a course for women to basically explain to women the nature of a man. So the idea, this is how FREYJA was created, to explain women why is it that men do not understand women, and at the end also why is it good that men can't understand women. Okay, so the course is all about explaining you the nature of a man, why the man is in the way he is, why is he basically, how does he perceives the world, how does he sees the world, how does he experience the world, what are his abilities, what are a man's limitations, which are biological in form of anatomy, physiology, and perception and everything else. And I think once a woman understands what the man is, what he can and what he can't, then you know how to deal with a man in nature. So you wouldn't learn how to communicate in a way that a man can understand what it is you would like to have to get from him, what is your need, what is your desire, your wish, or whatever it would be. So the final goal is basically to show you uh, the true nature of man. And Yeah. Men by nature are wonderful creatures. They're made in a way to take care of the feminine, to protect, to provide, to love, to admire. This is what the nature of a man is. If you know how to handle it, if you do not understand the nature of a man, you can turn a man easily against yourself. And both would be his nature. So my idea, my goal is just to show you what a man is. And we handle that in 12 evenings. So the course is made in a way that it builds up. So we'll start first with the creation, like how is a man created? Like how is he made? Anatomy, physiology, and that's the first week. I would say that's also the yeah, yeah, just theory, not too much interaction, nothing. And then the next week we'll go into basically what are the traits of a man. So what was he made for? What characteristics does he has would a man show if things go the right way? Okay, so we're gonna play a little bit with his nature, his characteristics. And in the same time we learn about the masculine or the male, we'll always look at the opposite of the woman or the feminine. So biologically seen, a man and a woman are two opposites of the same. We are in so many ways different that we can't even say almost we are the same. We are two opposites. Yeah. So in general, it goes like whatever you like as a woman, by nature, the man hates. Yeah. If you feel like attracted to, the man will feel repulsed by the same. Yeah. And once you understand why, then it starts making sense. Anyway, week 3, this is where we go into the biological role of a woman in a relationship. So what would be the place, what would be the role of a woman when she's in a relationship with a man? And like we said, this course is about all men. It doesn't matter who we are talking about. Is it your father? Is it your brother? Is it your son? Is it your boyfriend, husband? Is it your neighbor or the boss or whoever? All men biologically are the same. So we'll look really at the biology, not at the social programming. So it's not about culture, it's not about religion, it's not about social ideology or something. It's really just pure biology we're gonna work with. And we won't talk about how men should be or shouldn't be. In the same way, we won't talk about women, how they should be or shouldn't be. We'll talk about the biology of it. So day 3, week 3, that's about the role of a woman in a relationship. Week 4, we go into what is it a man needs to get from a woman, any woman, his mother, his daughter, his sister, his wife, whoever this woman would be. What is it the man would want to get from a woman or needs to get from a woman? And week 5, it's about what a man is basically, how a man is made, how a man will act in certain ways, and it's also um, like how to deal with a man in certain situations. Week 6 is about the feminine. Yeah, so that's where we talk about femininity. What is femininity? Uh, where did it get lost, maybe? And how did it get lost? So you maybe can look back and find the causes. Week 7, that's basically when we go into communication. So the first 6 weeks is more about the nature of a man. Once you understand the nature, then you should also know better how to communicate with a man. Of course, we start with the basics of communication. And week 8 is also about communication. This is more about what it is you communicate about with a man. So, because there are limitations in a man when it comes to. And week 9, that's also about communication. So communication is a big topic. Here it goes also like what should you talk about, what shouldn't you, and how, and all that. Week 9, that's also about communication, but that's more this uncomfortable part of communication, like how to communicate with a man if he would do something wrong. I heard the story that it can happen that men do sometimes something wrong, and a woman could get kind of mad at a man or something like. So it's about how to deal with situations when it happens that a man did something wrong, how to express it in a way that he could understand what he did wrong, at least from your perspective. And so he would understand what it is about. And once he understands, he wouldn't repeat it anymore. So we could say this week 10 is about criticizing a man in the way that supports his abilities to understand it. Then we go into week 11. That's again a part of our communication, but this is where we talk about honesty and truth, as well as respect. And that's always an interesting one. It's like what you call honesty or truth is something the man in general can only laugh about. So for a man, your truth, your honesty doesn't make any sense. But on the other side, what men consider to be honesty and truth is quite sometimes hard for a woman to get the idea that that would be considered honesty. Anyway, the same goes with respect. What a woman sees as respectful is quite often disrespectful to a man, and the opposite. Men are very often disrespectful to a woman and don't even they're not even aware of that. So we're going to talk about that part. And the last evening, the 12th evening, that's basically the only evening which would be for your boyfriends or husbands. That's about sexuality. But this is where we talk more about the biological perspective of sexuality. So, what is sexuality? What is sex for a man? And what would it be for a woman? Why do men play sex so high? And yeah, why is it, compared to a man, sex to a woman has almost no value. Yeah. So for men, sex is something worth dying for. Would any one of you die for a good sex? Would any one of you be willing to die after having good sex? No, but you see, men will. So anyway, so these are the topics we will cover. And like I said, we'll always look at the biology uh, behind it. So why is it that men are this way? And once you understand, it makes it easier to basically know how to handle men. Yeah, the proper way to handle a man. We could call it this way. Yeah. The course, like I said, is made in a way that it builds up. So you would have to assist every meeting. So only if you can make sure you have the time, then we would like to have you in this course. It's 12 weeks. We know it's quite long and things can always change. So if it happens that you can't assist, let us know. And you will have a recording of this meeting from your group. So once you put it into a group, you become a small community of a few women, ladies, and you stay in this group basically forever. This is the group on Telegram where we can interact during the week. This is also where you will get the summary of the meetings. That's where you're going to get your homework and where you basically can chat in between. Once we finish the course, you will be added to the greatest, we call it the Asen circle. Yeah, that's where all the women who did Freya before you join and they basically continue working on. They challenge themselves and say, okay, this week let's repeat week number 4 with the new observations, new whatever it is. And this is also what we're going to do after each session. We're going to have an homework. But do not worry, that's quite simple. It's mostly observing. It is maybe putting some thoughts into a certain topic, maybe reading a little bit, maybe watching a movie towards this. It's basically quite easy. It is also uh, so my way will the way I like to teach it is I'll go into the very extreme. So I will use the stereotype of masculine and feminine and also look from the extreme, as in the extreme it's more easily to be visible. So basically we're gonna talk in terms of black and white. Even so, I'm aware there's a lot of gray shades in between. Okay, but to make it more simple, we'll go into basically the extreme. Also, this course is about biology. Biology itself is not always nice and kind, so I won't express it in a politically correct way. So it can be challenging for some ladies because I will question your beliefs. Yeah, not with the idea to hurt someone or insult or something, but to question if it is really yours or you did just take it over from. Anyway, sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but the idea is to help you to see the deeper, like foundations of it. Heidi, did I mention everything? Okay, so no class is the same. This is why we don't have notes. We'll get only summaries with the